Hello and welcome to this edition of the Daf Yomi, the second part of Daf 36a of Bekorot. Let's continue. So we're going from the note here. When is the only source that an item was prohibited is a statement of one who says that it is now permitted. His claim is accepted. But we learn in the Mishnah in Ketubah 22a, with regard to a woman who said, I was a married woman. If a woman who does not have the presumptive status of a married woman claims that she was married but is now divorced, the claim is accepted. This is in accordance with the principle that the mouth that prohibited is the mouth that permitted. If there are witnesses who testify to this woman's status as having been previously married, the claim of being divorced is not accepted. That's in the Ram Sefer Noshim, Gerushin 12:1 Shulchan Aruch Even Ezer 52:6-7. And now I'm a divorcee. She's deemed credible and permitted to remarry, as the mouth that prohibited her by establishing that she was married is the mouth that permitted her by establishing that she was divorced. The Gemara answers, Rabbi Ila's statement is necessary, lest you say it is only there in the case of the Mishnah that the woman's testimony is accepted. As if she wants to remarry illegally, she does not need to say anything at all about previously being married. But here, with regard to the firstborn animal, it is different, as if the priest wishes to eat the meat of the animal, it is not sufficient for him not to bring the animal to an expert, i.e. he has no recourse other than to say that it is a firstborn animal which has a blemish requiring examination, as he cannot determine on his own whether this blemish permanently disqualifies the firstborn animal from sacrifice, and he would not eat sacrificial meat outside the temple courtyard, which is prohibited by punishment by kari. Since the priest must admit that this is the firstborn animal, I might say that this is not a case of the mouth that prohibited. This is the mouth that permitted it, and therefore the priest is not deemed credible. To dispel this possibility, Rabbi Ila teaches us that he is deemed credible, because if it's due to that reason that the priest is suspected of causing a blemish, he would have caused a blemish that is obvious to all. In such a case, he would violate a mere prohibition, not one that is punishable by Bekorot, since he would not be eating sacrificial meat outside the temple courtyard, as the animal is blemished. Ma Barav Ashi objects to this. What is different between this case and that incident involving a certain man who rented a donkey to another? The owner said to the renter, look, do not go on the path of Nekar Bekorot, where there is water and the donkey is likely to drown. Instead, go on to the path of Neresh. Now Bekorot Neresh. Nahar Bekorot was a city situated on the Tigris, slightly northwest of Ktisiphon, while Neresh was on the Euphrates, south of Surah. Neresh was an important agricultural and commercial center that was home to a large number of date palm farmers and alcoholic beverage producers. Straddling the desert, its inhabitants were considered uncultured. Despite its isolation, it was home to a Jewish community for many generations and produced no small number of sages. For a while, the prominent sage Rav Papa was head of the Academy of Neresh. With Neresh and Bekorot were cities with commercial centers known for their shrewd and aggressive businessmen. But there was no water. The renter went on the path of Nekar Bekorot and the donkey died. When he came back, he said, I went on the path of Nehar Bekorot, and there was no water there, and therefore the donkey's death was caused by other factors. And Rava said, the renter's claim is accepted due to the reasoning of why would he lie and state his claim. In other words, if this man wanted to lie, he could have told the donkey's owner, I went on the path of Neresh, as the owner instructed, and Abai said to Rava, we did not say the principle of why would he lie in a place where there were witnesses. Mother Leshakem Kum Adim. One rented out a donkey and warned the renter not to walk on a certain road where there is water. The donkey died en route, and although the renter admitted to have walked on the specified road, he claimed that there was no water there. The sages ruled that if witnesses can be found to testify that there was water there, the renter must pay for negligence and causing the death of the donkey. The halacha principle that a litigant's claim is deemed credible when he had a better claim available if he wanted to lie is not applied when there are witnesses available. As the Rambam says in his Potim, 4:3. Since witnesses can be summoned to establish conclusively whether there was water along the path of Nahar Bekorot, the reason that the renter could have stated a different claim is not employed. Similarly, the priest's contention that the blemish occurred inadvertently should not be deemed credible, as it is known that priests are suspected of causing blemishes. The Gemara rejects the suggestion. How can these cases be compared? There, with regard to the path in the code, there is certainly water there, but here the possibility that the priest caused a blemish in the first one was only a concern. And in place of mere concern, do we say the reason of why would he lie? The Gemara relates that Ravina was sitting and saying this halacha of Rabbi Eli. What's his name? Ilya. Rabbi Ilya anonymously. Rav Zuti said to Ravina, we learn this halacha in the name of Rav Ilya. The Gemara relates, Rabbi Sadok, an erudite priest, had a firstborn animal. He placed barley in wicker baskets for it, and while it was eating, its lips split, rendering the animal blemished. Rabbi Sadok came before Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua ben Hananiah, one of the leading sages in the generation following the destruction of the Second Temple, he served as one of the Levite singers in the temple. After its destruction, he was among the students who followed their primary teacher, Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, to Yavne. Rabbi Yeshua lived a life of poverty while working as a blacksmith and was recognized by all as one of the leading Torah authorities. While he disagreed with Rabbi Gamliel's ruling on several occasions, he ultimately accepted his authority as Nasi. After Ramban Gamliel's death, he served as leader of the sages to ask whether or not he is suspected of intentionally causing a blemish in the firstborn animal offering. Rabbi Sadok said to him, didn't we differentiate between a priest who was a chaver, I learned, and a priest who was an ignoramus? All priests are suspected of intentionally causing a blemish in the firstborn animal. This applies to a learned priest as well. If he performed an apparent act of subterfuge in order to cause a blemish, e.g. by placing animal fodder in a wicker basket, he likely to damage the animal while it is eating. If a firstborn animal did develop a blemish in such a case, it may not be slaughtered on this account. Rambam said Bekorot Daf, 14:1. With regards to the credibility about blemishes found on the firstborn animal, and Rabbi Yeshua said to him, yes, we did. Since you are a learned priest, you are deemed credible to testify that this blemish was caused inadvertently. Rabbi Sadok then came before Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel was the Nasi of the Sanhedrin, one of the most important Tanaim in the period following the destruction of the Second Temple. Rabbi Gamliel's father, Rabban ben Gamliel the elder, had also been Nasi of the Sanhedrin and one of the leaders of the nation during the rebellion against Rome. Rabbi Gamliel was taken to Yavne by Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai after the destruction of the temple, which is why he became known as Rabbi Gamliel of Yavne. After Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's death, Rabbi Gamliel presided over the Sanhedrin under Rabbi Gamliel's leadership. Yavne became an important spiritual center. The greatest of the sages gathered around him, including his brother-in-law Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah. Rabbi Gamliel sought to create a spiritual center for the Jews that would unite the entire people, a role that had been filled by the temple until its destruction. Therefore, he strove to enhance the prominence and sense of authority of the Sanhedrin and its Nasi. His strict and vigorous leadership eventually led his colleagues to remove him from his post for a brief period, praising him as Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah. Nevertheless, since everyone realized that motives and actions were for the good of the people and were not based on personal ambition, they soon restored him to his position. There are not many halachic rulings cited explicitly in the name of Rabbi Gamliel. Nevertheless, in his time and under his influence, some of the most important decisions in the history of the Jewish spiritual life were made. These include the decision to follow Beis Hillel and the rejection of halachic system of Rabbi Eliezer and the establishment of fixed formulas for prayers. It is known that two of his sons were sages, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, who served as head of the Sanhedrin after him, and Rabbi Hanina ben Gamliel, Nasi and head of the Academy of Yavne at the time. Rabbi Sadok said to him, Didn't we differentiate between a priest who is a chaver and a priest who is an ignoramus with regard to credibility about blemishes found on the firstborn animal? Rabbi Gamliel said to him, no, we did not. Rabbi Sadok said to him, but Rabbi Yeshua said to me, yes. Did we differentiate in this manner? Rabbi Gamliel said to Rabbi Sadok, wait until the masters of shields, Ba'ale Teresin, right from the Greek, Thereus, whose meanings include an elongated shield, a reference to Torah scholars who battle in the war of Torah enter the study hall, at which point we will discuss this issue. When the Torah scholars entered the study hall, the question stood before everyone present and asked, with regard to blemishes found on a firstborn animal, didn't we differentiate between a priest who is a chaver and a priest who is an ignoramus? Rabbi Yeshua said to him, no, we did not. Rabbi Gamliel said to him, but they said to me in your name that yes, we did differentiate. Rabbi Gamliel continued, Yeshua, stand on your feet and they will testify against you that you did, in fact, say that we differentiated in such a case. Rabbi Yeshua stood on his feet and said, how shall I act in this situation? If I were alive and Rabbi Sadok were dead, the living cannot contradict the dead. And I could deny that issuing that ruling. Now that I'm alive and he is alive, how can the living contradict the living? I have no choice but to admit that I said it. In the meantime, Rabbi Gamliel was standing and lecturing, and Rabbi Yeshua all the time was standing on his feet, and Rabbi Gamliel did not instruct him to sit. He remained standing in deference to the Nasi. This continued for some time until it aroused a great resentment against Rabbi Gamliel, and all the people assembled began murmuring and saying to Chutzpit, the disseminator, stop coming Rabbi Gamliel's lecture, and he stopped. The Mishnah. A priest is deemed credible to say, I showed this firstborn animal to an expert and he ruled it that it is blemished. So witnesses are still necessary to testify that the priest did not cause the blemish himself, and the Rambam notes that one witness is sufficient to give this testimony. The Rosh apparently rules that no such testimony is required. His reading is that since the priest is believed to have the blemish examined by a specific sage who he named, it seems the sage would have deemed it permitted only after having verified that the priest did not cause the blemish himself, and that's from the Chok. Come on. Rabbi Yehuda said that Rav says, a priest is deemed credible to say, an Israelite gave me this firstborn with its blemish. In a case where a priest owns a firstborn animal that develops a blemish, but it is unclear whether that blemish renders the animal permitted for slaughter, the priest owner himself is deemed credible to testify that he had a blemish examined by an expert who ruled it permitted. Although priests are generally considered unreliable to testify with regard to blemishes found on firstborn animals, in this case the assumption is that they are telling the truth, as otherwise they will consume the consecrated meat outside of the temple courtyard, which is punishable with curry. Some maintain that the priest does not need to name the expert who examined the firstborn, while others contend that if it is a conspicuous blemish, the name of a specific expert must be stated. And that's in the Rambam Sefer Chabon Bekorot 2:18. 14:7, the Shech and Tats there. Rashi writes that when I said that one. Gemara. Rav Yehuda says that Rav says a priest. I've said that. Blemish already inflicted upon it. What is the reason? With regard to any matter that is likely to be revealed, people do not lie about it. Since the Israelite can be questioned with regard to the veracity of the priest's claim, it is assumed that the priest will not risk lying. Rav Ashi said, we learn a similar principle in the Mishnah as well, that a priest is deemed credible to say, I showed this firstborn animal to an expert and he ruled it is blemished. What does the priest's claim is deemed credible? Is it not because we say that with regard to any matter that is likely to be revealed, people do not lie about it? The Gemara Joseph's claim that the Mishnah's ruling is based on the principle that people do not lie about a matter that is likely to be revealed. Perhaps there, in the case of the Mishnah, the reason that the priest's claim is accepted as he would not eat sacrificial meat outside the temple courtyard. If an expert had not permitted the meat, the priest would not eat it. But here, in Rav's case, where the priest claims an Israelite gave him an already blemished animal, since priests are suspected of causing blemishes and claiming that it was inadvertent, they are also suspected of causing a blemish and claiming that it was given to them in that state by an Israelite. Rav Zevi raise an objection to Rav's ruling from a mission that might fall 5. In the case of one who says to someone who is not trusted with regard to tithe, in a case of one instructs a person who is not trusted with regard to taking tithe to purchase produce from any individual who is careful to tithe, the agent is not deemed credible to say that he obeyed the instructions. If the one who appointed the agent specified the name of the individual from whom the agent should purchase the produce, the agent is deemed credible to say that he obeyed the instructions, as the matter can be verified. And that's the Rambam Sefer Zeraim Hilchot Maaseh 12:6 Shulchan Aruch Yoreh 119:19. Purchase produce from me from someone who is trusted with regard to tithe, i.e. one who does not purchase produce from an ignoramus, who generally does not separate tithe. If he says purchase produce for me from someone who tithes, i.e. even from one who purchases produce from an ignoramus, who is careful to set aside tithe upon purchasing the produce, the agent is not incredible to claim that he fulfilled a condition of one who appointed him. According to Rav, why isn't the agent incredible? Say the principle that with regard to any matter that is like to be revealed, people do not lie about it. The Gemara answers it's different there. That's the end of the Omid. Thank you for listening, and I wish peace in Israel, and wish you a good day. Bye.